under Merv.
Yes, Sandra.
I called this house, but there was no answer.
He may
Okay.
have to. Maybe he got something and he's dealing with it. Like if he shot something yesterday.
Right, we're still in hunting season.
Oh, hopefully he gives us some pepperettes.
We are live.
Perfect. I want to welcome everyone to the Corporation, the Township Bonnechere Valley Committee meeting. Today is Tuesday, November 14th. It is 1:30 p.m. We're meeting in the council chambers at the municipal building and Zoom conferencing. Perfect. I do have one addition to the agenda. So I'm just adding 8.3. So the mayor won't be doing a report today. She'll be doing it at the next meeting. So eliminate 8.1. I'll be adding an 8.3, just the discussion for the Opeong Mountain Resort Agreement. They'll be coming this out.
And I would like to add, as the new 8.1, the Bonnechere River Water Management Plan.
Yep.
And comments made at the Killaloe, Hecate and Richards Council.
Perfect. Tracy, do you have anything to add? John, anything?
No.
Could I please have approval of the agenda? John, all those in favor? Perfect, thank you very much. Was there any pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Don't see any. Was there any errors or omissions with the minutes from the last meeting?
There's fine.
Oh, perfect.
Hey, Merv.
Hi. Sorry if the gremlins crept in today.
No, that's okay.
That's all right, Merv. So you just have approval of the minutes then? Tracy, all those in favor? Awesome. Merv, welcome to the meeting. I was just telling everyone that you're gonna have to get us a bunch of pepperettes. We thought you're handling a doe or a buck right now, so.
Well, a matter of fact, I just got some out of the freezer to
Yeah.
make some jerky.
Oh, that's perfect. So
And he didn't bring you any.
so the next council meeting, that's great. So we do have a delegation today. We have Jay from the Canadian Red Cross with us here and we'll be doing a presentation. So Jay, you can come to the table and.
I should have where my computer is, if I may.
Oh, yeah, that's no
Absolutely.
problem.
Perfect, thank you. Well, thank you for letting me come in and talk for a couple of minutes. Eric and I were talking about emergency management and tie over to the Red Cross. There's a few things that are in play, so it's a matter of, making sure the council is aware of the way some of the things are going at the current time. So I'm gonna just kind of power through this because I know it's limited times, right? There we go. So our mission, our vision, basically just serving community hearing, driven by 7 fundamental principles. So there's a lot of times if you as a council were to, hey, can you do this? If we see that it's violating one of those principles, we will say, sorry, we can't do it. But we will say, hey, we can do it this way if you wish us to, because then it gets us back within our principles, right? And we get requests like that from time to time. The Freedom Convoy would be an example of that, where the city was asking, Ottawa was asking us to do some stuff, and we just went, yeah, sorry, I can't do it that way, but I can do it this way for you. There we go. So our relationship with government is an auxiliary to government. So we don't self-activate. We are activated by some part of government. That is the way we roll into play, whether it's during a larger event or a smaller event. We augment what resources municipalities will have, obviously. There's two types of there's more than 2 types of disasters, but we have what we call minor events. So they're, for us, they're called an L1. So that's up to 25 people. So that's the PDA program. So that's where the chief, if there's a structure fire, could call us and say, listen, I have a family of 4 that's been displaced. And a team would respond. The team would set them up for 72 hours. If they needed accommodations, they would get, if they lost everything in their home, they get a prepaid card to be able to go out and purchase clothing, to go out and purchase food for that 72-hour period. The goal there is that either their insurance kicks in and it helps them after the 72, or we tie them to other NGOs or social service programs in the county to continue assisting them beyond that to get them stabilized. But we're just trying to buy that so that their heads aren't spinning, they don't know what to do. We're taking that out of the mix and we're buying the people that support us, like being other NGOs, etc., the time to be able to react and assist. So that would be any event up to 25 people. A major event for us is anything over 25 people or 10 dwellings. So that would be a level 2, level 3. Level 3 would be if more than one municipality in the county was impacted by the same event. Level 4, now we're going into different counties. Level 5, pandemic would have been like a level 5 reaction for us. So that's where we have some sort of agreement with the municipality, and we worked with provincial government, federal government, etc. The way you activate us in either case, and I know the chief has the number, you can call the local coordinator, being me, or the local duty officer, which is one of the senior members of my team. We rotate the phone on a weekly basis at the 613-329, or if you didn't get anybody here, which never gonna happen, it's the Ontario duty officer in the province of Ontario, then all they're gonna do is kick it back up here anyways. That's why my preference is you call here, because it's coming back to us anyways, just cuts out an extra step in the process, right? So what can we do to help? You all received in your packages a just-in-time agreement. In there's a list of the things that the Red Cross does. So this is basically the same stuff, so I'm not gonna dwell on these slides. If you have any questions, by all means, you can ask those. But these are the things that the Red Cross, this is our bailiwick. Can we do other things beyond this? Sure, but we have to see if we can, because we may or may not have the capability of, but these are the main things that we provide. Slides moving slowly. That one. And available local resources, just so you're aware, it's sort of in the neighborhood. We have what is called a 50 DM trailer located here in Renfrew County. It carries 50 cots, 50 pillows, 50 blankets, 50 teddy bears. Comfort bears, right? Basically, that is located up just outside of Pembroke. Laurentian Valley actually stores it in one of their public works facilities for us. So if we were to have to set up a shelter, we would go grab the trailer, bring it down. The volunteers would show up there. If there was some of your staff there as well, we quickly set up the center, and you'd have a place for putting 50 people in to stay, right? If they didn't have anywhere to go. The other thing we have, which is located that I have to manage, is down off of Greenbank Road, there's a fire hall. I have 4 sea cans there. Each sea can is 200 beds, cots, blankets, and administrative office setup that's inside there, not the tech, but just tables and chairs and stuff. There's 4 of those sitting there. They get picked up by a tow, and we have deals with the various tow companies. Generally, they are on ground, 30 minutes plus whatever the travel time is to the area. And they show up, they drop it on the ground, popped open, and all the materials are pulled out if we had to go to a larger size event. So service agreements. Here we go. So there's 2 types of agreements. One is an MOU. The issue with the MOU, in my mind anyways, I came out of municipal, so that's why I always put that municipal hat on when I'm doing this stuff. Just in time in MOU, the wording is all the same from a legal perspective. But the just in time is the event has happened. Erica phoned, she said, we need you to activate, and then we would do a just in time agreement with you. And that's how we would function. In the case of an MOU, you would just say, hey, I need to activate you. The difference is that they're looking for preparedness monies that you would contribute every year. So either way, with an agreement, if it's a level 2 event and up, you end up basically paying your cost recovery. So whatever it costs for us to operate, that's what you're ending up paying, right? So that's because we don't have the money too. But if the province, the feds, or other programs kick in, so if you think back to the 2019 flooding, no municipality, and not that you want to.
I have PTSD about the 2019. I was the warden.
Oh, great.
County.
So
Flew in a helicopter.
I did fly in a helicopter with the military, but it was not a very nice flight, flying over people's roofs that were showing out of the water this much. We got on the helicopter like this. We got all off the helicopter with mascara down here. It was heartbreaking. Yeah.
The bright vest, so the bodies are easier to find if it happens.
That's what they dressed us in fluorescent.
So the long and short is that you would just make the call and the same things would occur. There'd still be cost recovery, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, looking at it from a municipality perspective, it's like, A large municipality like a major city, it makes sense because they might be signing one of those, having to call and activate one of those agreements every single week because of the nature and number of events that happen that are over 25 people. In the case of smaller municipalities, it's not so much the case, right? Now, do you always get billed cost recovery would be is the question. If the province or the feds say, hey, here's money because you guys have declared a disaster, we're kicking in, just like they did in 2019. That whatever the cost of us coming to assist as an auxiliary was born out of that. Because they asked us to distribute money through the prepaid card system. Everybody got $600 that had registered. They could come in and get a prepaid card for $600 or an EFT. If they registered and they felt they wanted the money, they were allowed to do that.
I'm not sure that we got money from the feds,
Well, you wouldn't have.
the county,
You wouldn't have.
no,
They would have given it to the Red Cross.
Okay, it goes
So
to-
they would say, can you as the Red Cross deal
All
with
right.
registering everybody in Renfrew County that's been impacted? And then we want everybody to get this much money or that much money.
Okay,
And then that's how we distribute it. We have to account back to them.
But what my memory serves me correct happened. That to collect from some of that, you had to have spent at least half of your yearly budget.
no,
Right,
it's 3%.
or whatever, and it was,
It's still arbitrary.
yeah, it
that
was
was
still,
for-
still a lot
that's-
of money.
That's for provincial.
And it was too high, but we didn't qualify.
Yeah, that'd be for the provincial piece, but the
Yeah.
fed piece, I know we handed money out to people here for the prepaid cards. For people that had flooding back down along the river, et cetera, because they contact us, because we contact them, because they're registered and say, hey, by the way, there's this program that's appeared. Do you want the money? If you do, cool, here you go. It was to help people with, fuel and all the things that they were fighting the fight to try to keep the property safe, right?
Mhm.
So that's where you would not necessarily see any type of billing coming back, right? In some cases, let's say they did hand you money as a municipality. You might get the billing from us, but you're allowed to take that billing and put it in, right? Because then it's a billable back to them. And we provide you with all the documentation so that they're happy that, all right, great, everything's been documented, that the Red Cross did this on behalf of your municipality because it was greater than your own local resources to be able to provide. So the Red Cross, you have the Red Cross.
We didn't qualify in 17 or 19, not in Bonnechere Valley.
Oh,
Just we had destruction, but not as much as
And then it was that
And- and I mean-
areas, right?
19. It was worse on the Ottawa River. And we were fully prepared in 19 on Holy Thursday to send our resources out to sandbag prior to the levees opening on Good Friday.
Right.
So Bonnechere Valley was actually ahead of the game that particular year. Not that we didn't have any problems, but it was a lot less than 17 where we weren't prepared. And the rivers came up and, there were some roads that you couldn't even get to, that our fire department or roads department couldn't even get down. So we did learn, year over year, things that you can mitigate, even if we sent people out on Holy Thursday evening and the floods didn't come, well, what did it cost us? It cost us some sandbags. It was fully worth it to mitigate the possibility. And in fact, the Bonnechere River came up.
So the benefits of the agreements, obviously, direct access to, the assistance that would come from us, the fact that our people are trained and do this on a regular basis. It adds value to your program because we could be here to assist with planning stage, or you had a couple of the ladies that facilitate one of our programs come up and deliver the program here a couple of weeks ago. I mean, so that's all the sort of stuff that falls within that, right? It simplifies the relief and recovery process. If there's monies that are funneling through in one thing or another, and we can customize our what we do based on what you need, based on our partnership with you. So all that being said, the document that you as council were provided with is the just in time. Normally, the way the process would be, I'd get a call, I'd send it in, and you guys wouldn't have seen it till the day I got a call. So right in the middle of it's hitting the fan time, right? This would have appeared to Erica to bring and try to deal with. Once again, municipal hat. I have an issue with that. So what I've decided to do is go tell the municipalities and say, here's what it looks like, this is how it works, this is what happens. That way you've got all your questions in the flow and you get them answered, then you can make a decision that's not during a state of emergency as to whether you would activate for this or activate for that, or which items you might choose to activate us for, right? Because there's a whole list of stuff in there, but maybe half of them you wouldn't need. Well, okay, then you just activate for the one thing you do need, right? If it's required. So what we would end up doing with this is the document would be filled in as much as we could, but certain items like response description, response start date, end date, all that stuff, we can't fill that in until it happens. So that's where your municipality, your emergency management coordinator would end up contacting me. We'd fill in the details really quick. And then I would be directed by your municipality what services you're requesting of us. We check that stuff off. And then what ends up happening, you actually end up with a guesstimate budget of what it's going to cost within like 48 hours as well. Now, does that mean we're going to be delayed 48 hours to come and help? No, trucks are rolling. Volunteers are rolling. We just do it on good faith that if there's costs that, yeah, okay, you'll be paying whatever the cost recoveries are because you're entering into the agreement, but it's never going to slow our response down in any way, shape, or form. It's just, once again, we live in the world of legal. It's a legal document saying, yes, this come and help. So therefore, these are the parameters under which we're helping. And you understand where that goes and what the rules are. We understand what your rules are. And the world's a happy place from that perspective, right? From a legal perspective. So are there any questions, rather than me going page by page through this? Are there any questions specific to the document? And maybe we can kind of answer those.
So, so the minimum activation point for you is when people are involved, really, 10 people or even 4 or 5 people. So if a supermarket burned down or 3 barns burned down and no people are involved, that's not a disaster in this plan setting.
Not really, because we're, for lack of a better way of putting it, we're ESS, Emergency Social Services. Is the way to look at us. Yeah, we're not here to deal with the fact that a barn burnt down.
Yeah.
Because there's no impact to humanity is the bottom line. That's what comes down.
Second, have you examples of where you've worked with other parties? Like sometimes if you have say 25 people needing a roof, you'd open a school or a church basement or whatever. So that's something you already have feelers out in the community. So all of a sudden we have St. James Church will open their hall for us and use that. Do you do that or do we do that?
So we go where you direct us to go. Now, 2 parts of that is, one thing that we will do is if you're entering into an agreement with the school board, a church, whatever, we will come and do what's called a shelter survey. So we can actually tell you based on health standards. And I mean, there's the building code, there's fire code, and then there's the Health Canada code that applies to when you're setting up something that's a relief center, right? Because it comes down to numbers of toilets and bathrooms and showers and this and that and the other. And we will come and evaluate that facility. And actually, we've actually had the conversation. I believe it's your arena we're going to be
It's
looking
the
at, right?
Eagles Nest.
Yeah.
Right,
So-
we've got showers, ample bathrooms,
Yeah.
lots of rooms.
So we'll evaluate.
Kitchen,
Sorry.
Sorry,
Yeah,
a
no problem.
bar.
Yeah.
So basically we provide the roof and you'll make sure we get the water and the blankets and the cots.
If
things
that's
that we
what
need.
you
If we
check
need
off
them,
on
yes.
here.
Okay.
If you say, you know what, we can get the water and stuff, we'll cut a deal with the grocery store up on the other end of town. They're gonna have to supply all that stuff, or we've got somebody that'll supply the food, cool, no problem. And then, okay, can you bring the cots and can you bring the blankets and the pillows for the sleeping area? Can you register everybody so we know who's been impacted? And if there's any funding that comes down, we have a registry and there's been a basic needs assessment done on all these individuals, so therefore that's done. Yeah, so I mean, you basically are pointing us in the direction of where you want us to go. Do we have other partners? If you said, hey, can you do food? Yeah, I've got other organizations that are NGOs and that because we don't do food. But I have partnerships where we get the food done. So I'll bring them in to support that piece of the operation or whatever, right? So we try to stay inside our lane of specialty, right? And their lane of specialty is providing foods at disaster events type of thing, right? And some of those actually bill and some of those don't charge anything for doing it because it's a church group. Or if you have a church group that says, you know what, hey, this is what we're gonna do to serve our community, we're going to provide meals. And then that's okay too. We just partner with them and figure out how we're gonna make it work. Oh, we only have the people who work in the kitchen, we need people to serve, okay. I've got volunteers that'll stand there and help serve the food and refill stuff.
It is amazing, not that I want you to have an emergency, but it is amazing during an emergency, the generosity and people stepping up and saying exactly that, you know, I'll bring food. Can you find people to help me serve it? You know, our Eagle's Nest has plates and cups and, you know, the infrastructure is there, but it is incredible. And I will use Whitewater as an example. During the 2019 floods, they had enough food to feed military personnel and all the displaced people that were in Whitewater and beyond at one recreation hall. It was really something to see, like very heartwarming.
Yeah.
And staffed almost 24/7.
How quickly a community comes together.
Exactly.
I find this community very, very much giving. My father's house burnt down. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, the woman across the street brought coffee, donuts, helping the firefighters. Like it's just, it doesn't matter the time of day, people are there to help.
Exactly. And you never want to have an emergency, but using 19 as an example, I've never seen anything like that in my life. But people stepped up in every community. It was really amazing.
One of the things with shelter, so setting up like a cot center, you know, a reception center. The truth of the matter is 75% of the people will not be there within 48 hours. They may need a window to buy them time to find a place to go. Then they'll be, right, and they'll be somewhere else. Yellowknife was a good example of that.
Right.
You know, there were people that had to be assisted. The other fire that was up there's 42,000 people that were displaced by the earlier wildfire up in the Northwest Territories. Because we register people, we knew where everybody was. So then when government was able to say, okay, we're gonna help you here, or get who's in this zone because we're gonna assist with rebuilding and we're gonna this, that, they would come to us and say, all right, you've registered everybody. Can we please get a hold of them and let them know to contact this for further assistance as we're in the recovery phase, recovering from the event. But most events, a lot of times people will come to a center, but they may not sleep there more than a day or two. And then they found someplace else, friends, neighbors. I live in the country too, so it's kind of like, I know on our roads, power goes out on a regular basis. We're moving generators around and doing this or that, right?
Yeah.
To help each other out. And that's just the way it is.
But
So
that's a great point too. They might not use the shelter, but they really should register,
yes.
right? Because now I've gone to Pakenham to stay with a cousin. Now you've got to find me to tell me, oh, by the way, you know, we're in this phase of bringing people back to their homes, etc. And I know that was a big thing in the territories, is finding people afterwards. But you talk about generators, the tornado in 2018. Yes, I was the natural disaster warden for those 3 years.
Just like it.
The tornadoes, and that's why you don't want me to be warden. The tornadoes in Calabogie, it was something to see. People rolling huge generators down the road to help neighbors. It was incredible.
So when it comes to the other thing would be like a reception center where it's merely a paid place for people to come and get information and have a coffee and whatever. I mean, we'll staff something like that. If you don't have your own staff that's available to do it and you want someone there that's going to pass the information that the municipality wants put out to the public there. And then whatever information we have that's a more generic emergency basis, you know, that's something else that we do. Or going door to door, it's what we call outreach, where, and believe it or not, major cities, it happens all the time. There's only so much depth in fire, paramedics, and police. They'll call us up and say, we need this neighborhood from this to this to this to this, check, because we know there's 70% of the population in there is seniors.
And they don't want to
And
leave.
we wanna, and they haven't left, and we wanna make sure they're okay.
They don't want
So
to leave.
we go door to door and
Mhm.
check on them and pass on information from the municipality saying, if you need food, here's the number to call. If you need a community paramedic to come to you, here's the number to call. So to make sure they've got the numbers they need to reach out for help if it's required. So there's a lot of variations between, but it all hinges back to basically the agreement, and that's kind of the flow of it. My goal here was to make sure that you as a council were aware of it. How, you know, and then have the discussions around it. And if you want this sort of thing, we pre-populate the pieces we can so that we can quickly flip it back and forth between us the day you do give us a call. And everybody's on the same page. You're not suddenly having this dropped on you the day of an event, right? Which I wouldn't appreciate, so I don't think anyone else should at the end of the day, right? So. Anyways, that's it, unless there's some more questions.
Anyone have any more questions?
Thanks, Jay.
Excellent, no problem.
Jay, Jay,
Yes, sir.
it might be useful with Erica to think about maybe having a training session. It'd probably be appropriate to do several municipalities where we got a hall and go through one of these in a, you know what I mean?
We're doing our emergency exercise on the 22nd.
Okay, but last year when we did it, we didn't do any cost analysis or.
Because each scenario is different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we talked in general, very general terms.
Well, what we can do on the 22nd is incorporate the draft
Yeah,
into
start,
the exercise,
okay,
but as Brent just said, even 17 and 19 were different, right? Like vastly different.
Well, you can prep for the exam, we just don't know what we're studying for, right? So then
Exactly.
you're just trying to do
That is a
different scenarios.
great way to put it.
When you have a mustache
you,
like
Super
mine,
Mario.
it's, a lot of good things come out.
okay, well, that's good, just that would be,
Yeah, but
so-
yes, you're right. So if we're having the exercise, let's incorporate the draft and see if it works out for us.
yeah, and as Jay
Depending-
said,
But we-
But if, because I'm sure the scenario has been almost done this year, if it can't be this year, then we can incorporate into next year's, right? Just to
We-
give more time.
We don't know what Erica has planned for us.
No, I'm not telling you.
No, please don't.
She had only asked me to show up about 30 minutes late, and that's what she had requested from me.
No. I didn't.
Brent, the emergency
Jay,
exercise begins at 11.
Jay, thank you very much for coming, though. We really do appreciate, it was a great presentation. Honestly, it was.
And
No,
it's-
and I appreciate that because I read through the
document.
document and it was nice actually that you didn't even present on the documents. We can read this and you can understand it from there. It's just, it's an agreement. But no, your presentation was very good.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
appreciate
we
it.
all know how to read. It's kind of a miracle. But that-
Threw the odd picture in for Jen, which was really nice. You had the nice plus sign for her, so we really appreciate that. Yeah.
Oh,
If
boy,
I,
Brent,
if
Yeah.
I might,
different finger.
with the suggestion about incorporating that. If you were going to do that, you would probably want to do it when. It depends on the nature of the event that you plan as an ESS event. And then obviously we'd have somebody that's familiar with that, whether it be one of my senior volunteers or myself. Here, because you'd be passing to us for us to do, hey, here's what your costume is going to be. Here's
Oh.
what this is gonna be, and that's gonna be.
Oh, I wasn't thinking of it that way, Jay. I was
Okay.
thinking of it as we go through the emergency. You know, where would this fit in? Would we need you? Would we not? Sorry, I should have made myself more clear. So I don't know what you're planning, but I think council should leave that with you.
Thanks.
Perfect. Thanks, Jay. Thank you.
You're the CEMC. You're in charge.
Perfect.
Yes.
And that was Daryl coming today or hunting?
Sorry, yes, no, Daryl and Jason are both away hunting today.
Perfect.
Jason may drop in, but Daryl is not dropping. Yeah, so I don't know if there were any questions on his report.
Daryl's was pretty straightforward,
Yeah,
so.
I just,
Illustration.
I had a couple for Jason, but they can wait. Nothing was, it's a shame about the Harry Dick Road sign and the hydro, like, I get it. Because where the ones were that a couple of people were talking to me about were actually hung from light standards, not from hydro, so I get that, so something for a different day, I guess.
Mhm.
Do you want me to take anything back to Jason or Daryl? Or do you want me to just, are we still on Daryl or where are we at?
Well, Daryl's a straightforward,
Yeah.
so then on Jason's report, most of the stuff was pretty straightforward. Did anyone have any questions pertaining to Jason's report?
I don't want to speak to something as well, but it can wait too.
It's
Oh,
nice that
yeah.
Plow is coming,
On,
or is here.
the only thing I was gonna make a note on, just on the, I think it was on the Water Street side for the parking, I was just
Yeah.
curious that maybe when we're doing a road tour in the summer, we can look at it because we see what the potentials are, because there's certain sections we don't need to be the whole road,
Sure.
but there's options for short periods of it.
Cause it goes like this.
Exactly, right? So, so that's all something I thought when we are all together, we can look at that as well. So,
I just have a quick
Yeah.
question, because there's something, Santa Claus parade that piqued my question. Will we have a conversation about what we're doing as a council?
yeah, we can talk about it after the meeting.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That doesn't advance the
Yeah.
position of council, so we can
No,
talk
no,
about that
just
anytime.
to
Sure.
creative ideas of what we're gonna do.
Yeah,
as a team.
so after we conclude, like adjourn this meeting, then we can have a small discussion on it. That
Yeah.
works. Besides, that, I didn't have any questions for Jason. Okay, and then I see Daryl's in the room. Daryl? You're up, sir.
Everyone is.
Afternoon, everyone. So we might as well jump right in. Fire, it has been extremely busy. Even since the 1st of November, we've been out 6 or 7 times already. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe when next generation 911 gets rolling, that's gonna give us a little more information. That's what it's designed to do.
How is? Explain to me, like I'm a child, how next gen is going to help.
Well, it's gonna give us more information when we're rolling up on scene. That's what it's designed to do. We're gonna get pictures. We may be able to determine what it's gonna show us what we're kind of heading into. It's gonna give us a heads up.
Okay, because we've had very spotty information on next gen.
Yeah.
I know that one of the biggest things was that if you phoned from your cell phone, they would hopefully be able to pinpoint where you
Yeah.
are without you having it. I know that you put it in your phone, but what if you weren't at your home?
Yeah.
I know that was one of the hopes of next gen, but I've heard this from other people that it's somehow supposed to give you better information, but I didn't know how that was gonna happen.
Yeah, we'll just, we're gonna get pictures. I think maybe it's gonna have to also come from the CAC Center, how they're going to receive information and relay it to us. Maybe their questions are gonna have to change,
Okay,
because we only get what they're being told. So they're just relaying what their information, what they're getting.
so have you been given good documentation on next gen 911?
Somewhat,
Yeah, that's okay, that's
Yeah.
where,
because
okay,
it
good enough,
keeps being pushed back all the time, right?
right?
Yeah.
All right, well, it's interesting, I mean, it's been in the making for
Oh, wow.
5 years,
Yeah.
4 years, so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Now, there is an opportunity that we can ramp up public education, fire prevention. To try and mitigate the call volume, but. With that said, we'll take a look at that at this turn of the year. I mean, it could be just one of those years. It's just. I've heard
Yeah,
Chief Coral Quad and Barry's Bay said they're down 25-30% call volume.
really?
Yeah, so we just have it in an irregular year.
Okay.
Well, next year will be a telltale sign if the trend's gonna keep increasing or not.
Maybe it's him.
Well, when I first took over in GM, the same thing happened. First year calls went.
Oh,
It's almost
maybe it is him.
Or people
like-
like you.
It sounds like it's a test.
No, that is a shame though.
It really hasn't been cold enough for first fire.
No, but that's the problem. Our numbers are up and we're just heading into chimney fire
I was
season.
gonna say chimney hasn't really even started.
Not yet.
I thought you just had a chimney fire.
That was carbon monoxide last night.
No, I thought you lost
Oh,
the
we lost
house.
the house. It started as a chimney fire.
Yeah.
And now it turned into a structure fire.
That's terrible. That's so sad.
And it was a challenging one because it's an ICF right to the rafters. It's basically concrete bunker with a fire burning inside it.
Oh, it was ICF all the way
Yeah,
to the
all the way to the
top. Wow.
rafters, yeah.
So that means it's relatively new construction.
Yeah, I was inspecting it this summer. They were just ready to gain occupancy.
Oh,
Wow, that's,
That's,
because I was, okay, so it's a new chimney. So when you just said public education, maybe we need to educate more on chimney cleaning. But what
This
you,
was a brand.
this
new-
was brick, wow,
It's seen about 6 fires from what I understand. So, there's more to it, but until I get some concrete evidence.
yeah.
oh, okay. Sorry, I shouldn't have
No, it's-
outed you there, I just,
Well, that's
That's
what,
terrible.
because that's what I was kind of, it's like, because we aren't even, like, hopefully we don't have a busy fall. All the rest of the fall, but that's what I was thinking for a chimney, because we have a lot more people moving rural.
Mhm.
Using a lot more wood source fuel and stuff that might not be grew up on or familiar with it.
Yeah.
So then they won't know to clean out or how to clean out your chimney or inspect it at least, right?
Yeah.
So, like,
That's true.
That's what I was like, so that's why I was kind of curious on, because we weren't even in that season, so,
And there was a time
well, we are, but not.
years ago that we used to offer the service, but we were not allowed to. We actually go out and do a chimney sweep, but we just can't do it anymore.
it's actually a really good service to
No, because
provide.
that would be, so we would just have, yeah, because we just have to make, guess, your wet certification more available, I guess.
Yeah.
But really, most of the stuff would be existing, so it's really just the maintenance of it and inspection. End of the day, yeah.
So again, recruitment is always ongoing, so I did make the revisions to the junior firefighter program.
Looks good,
I like it. Yeah.
Mhm.
I like it too.
So we're gonna roll that out starting in the new year right away. We'll start to put that out there and see where it goes.
So I don't want to give away too much because being on the Roma board, I've got pre-information, but we've got these amazing videos that are going to be rolled out during the conference. And in one of the videos, they've got a young women's junior firefighter program, and it's sort of featured in one of the videos. I thought that was
Excellent.
very cool. Yeah.
I have one for you already.
Yeah.
Confirmed.
Daryl, for the firefighter count for Station 1 Eganville 12 and then Foymount 10. For the Foymount so when someone's designated like a station, are they from that like from the Foymount area, or can they be from Eganville and that's their designated station?
They tried years ago, it was done like that. I mean,
Okay.
with amalgamation.
Yeah.
Because they brought two halls together. So there was a group that was up in the Plymouth area and there was
Yeah.
a group that down in the Eagle area. The last little while, the numbers are really dwindling up in the Plymouth area.
Okay,
So basically both halls are rolling.
okay.
Yeah.
No, that's always curious,
Yeah.
the demographic
Yeah.
of our actual,
Yeah.
both the Station 1, Station 2. I was just kind of curious.
We've been looking at where they're all situated and where they're living within
Yeah.
the township. So.
Okay.
But truth be told, even if they live somewhere in the township, they might not be here when an event is called,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
If they're at
That's
work,
right.
so it doesn't really matter where they're stationed, nor
No.
does it matter where they live. They just need to roll.
They just need to roll,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious.
So, so as of October 31st, we are no longer in our legislative provincial burn season. So daytime burning is now permitted with the dollar permit, so. I've been getting lots of phone calls and I just been telling people, middle of October, just wait till the end, then you can burn during the day, and as long as, let's just let us know that's what you're doing, so.
Perfect.
Wait till we get a snowfall.
And that's the thing, where the snow is gonna come eventually, so,
What do you mean eventually?
well, that's not enough.
Not this week.
We had like this much snow at our house.
It's enough to make mud.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
about
it really was.
so nothing else in fire? That's good. So we'll move on to building. So my information item for the monthly building as it was attached. We're close to last year, but I still have a few more in the inbox and it's trickling in. But I am receiving again fielding a lot of phone calls for future projects which are coming up, so I don't know. People are talking next year, the year after, so again, it's just
Finding a contractor.
that, and they're just, well, a lot of them are trying to take it on themselves. That's what I've been hearing, a lot of we're gonna do it ourselves. So then I have to talk to them about design and making sure that it is, if it comes in and it's not, I can't accept it on a piece of paper or napkin,
Right,
you know?
Yeah.
So,
okay.
so I want to talk to you a little bit about building without a permit. So I generally know where all my permits are. So when I'm driving, because typically I'm in these places, so when I'm driving around, especially lately. And I'll look over and I'll see something, whether it's a deck or it's a sea can. Or one of those Mennonite sheds, they're starting to pop up. And people are just not, so I know they're building it on permit. If I'm unsure, I will take the civic address, I come back and I do my research. And if I find out there's a permit, no, don't worry about it. But I am starting to see that there is more structure going up, and so I'm just getting a little concerned. If I start to approach people about it, it can go one of two ways. It's gonna go good or it's gonna go bad. Like in the Building Code Act, it clearly states that the role and responsibilities of everybody, that a permit must be taken out. Now, if it's 160 square feet and there's no plumbing, it's a freestanding building, there is no permit required. Once you get beyond that, it has to be a permitted building. So the fines are quite substantial in the building code. It's $50,000 for the first, if you're convicted, up to 50,000. Second offense is 100,000. If you're a corporation, it's 500,000. First offense, if you're convicted, in 1.5 million, you're convicted after the second. So they are quite large.
A
So
lot more than getting a building permit.
absolutely. Now, I've never had to go through anything like that before. I've never actually talked to any of my fellow CBOs if they've gone through it. But I have brought a draft bylaw when I was in GM about what happens when you get caught building without a permit. Basically, your fees are doubled. So.
Oh, that's interesting, okay. Question for you. Have you ever liaised with Ann McBean when she's here, or anybody from county when they're
Yes.
here?
Yes.
To find out if any of these buildings that have gone up without a permit are ones that county has said, oh, no, you can't build there, or no, it's gotta be moved to this location on your property?
Not on that end, but I did get a call, an email from. I can't think of his first name. There was on a county road up in Foymount, there was a building that was on their road allowance, and they actually, went to the lady and said she has to move it. Because it's real close to the road, it could affect a snowplow.
Oh, okay, no, I'm thinking more in terms of. Somebody comes in, meets with county says, no, that's not an appropriate place for a building, or you need to put it on this side of your property. They don't get a building permit, they go and they build. That's where you haven't heard any, okay, I was just wondering if you ever liaised with Ann McBean.
No, not at all. Now, there wasn't like, I mean, if I was to approach somebody and if they were not wanting to go through the permit process. So, and even if I was to say, okay, we're gonna double your fees, it's not gonna help because we're not going through the permit process. So if I was to walk onto the property, do my calculations and say, this is what it would have cost for the permit, and then we add it to their taxes, but I don't know if you know, because there is a ability again in the Building Code Act that I can do that, or we can do that as a township.
So I think my concern right now is the fact that you're bringing this to us perhaps means that this is going on more often than usual. And so would it be, I think, Mr. Chair, if Daryl could bring us back what he's thinking in terms of a draft bylaw for us to review.
Well, we had a draft one done up, so if we brought that towards the next, for the next time you're in, then that's no problem. Review it over the winter, and then realistically, I think, especially for like setting your foundations, like really your next foundation is gonna be in the next spring anyways.
Mhm.
So the biggest thing is that's when next new structures would be going up.
Yes.
So as long as we set that in stone prior to that, or like review something about it.
Mhm.
But I think an information blast every year in our newsletter going out in the second edition that we put out would be beneficial, just to give you assistance as well. Because it makes your life easier, then you don't have to drive around and find things.
Yeah, I try not to look
What's? But it,
I mean, because I'm doing my thing, but if I see something, then I act on it.
well, Daryl, especially nowadays, a lot of stuff's on YouTube, but people like,
Yeah.
you try to save costs everywhere you can, but
Yeah.
it's so expensive, so. No, sounds good.
Perhaps an article in the leader will
Well,
also help.
That's where I was going. If people
She was
pick it up,
scribbling furiously behind you, so I was, yeah.
that's my hope was that
Yeah.
people see it.
But definitely the
He's-
newsletter is always there for you,
Yeah.
but, yeah, it's disappointing that this is such a big deal that you have to bring it to us right now, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to like just nip it in the bud before.
For sure.
it's out of control. And only have to make a phone call, that's all I'm asking.
Are you finding mostly it's accessory buildings?
Yeah, it's more expensive.
Is that, do you find there's been a difference since they increased it from 100, like, to 150 for like sheds or accessories, or just?
It was 120,
It's
was
just
150.
Well, it went from 110 to 160, but I just think it's people are just not, they're not picking up the phone, or, you know, they're asking their neighbors, and the neighbors are saying, oh, it's all there. Call the authorities.
And then is this more like you're talking about like within Eganville Road that across BB you're noticing it?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's not so much in the hamlet, but a
Mhm.
lot of it's, and especially if I'm going down some of these back roads where I don't frequent too often.
Right.
Oh, I wasn't there. So,
Yeah, and then the response is always, oh, no, it's existing.
Yeah, but I could see that happening far more often than in the village.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's, you're right, it's more open here.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I was just kind of curious, but yeah, no, just bring more of like a report for next, next time you're in. And then we can review it by then and go from there. I'm curious on like how many you have found this year, if you, sounds like, there's more than usual, but.
I'm interested too.
So Daryl, just some clarification. So my understanding was that C-cans didn't require a permit because they're transportable. Do we require a permit for 8x16, 8x20s?
it's still considered an accessory building, even though they can be picked up and moved.
So you need a permit.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, I didn't know that.
We have a special bylaw for that, do we not, Daryl? I thought.
And they are only permitted in certain zones.
In
as
certain
well.
zones, yep.
And that's another thing I've seen, that's what I'll check and I'll say. And then again, how do you know, some of them are saying, well, it had been there for years.
But that I find is somewhat following up with John's comment. I see that as more of a, oh, I didn't realize that they needed a,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah.
I have one in the middle of my property. You'll never go there. But it was 10 years ago. And the,
Wait a sec, John, say that again?
John is outing himself.
I know, but, and I bought it from
Cassidy's.
Cassidy's and they delivered and said, they say, okay.
Yeah.
So I'll talk to you about that later. The other questions are that, so brand new garage, brand new house, not a problem because that's a major thing and people are more cautious.
Yeah.
So you're right, it's the sheds and renovations probably as well.
Well, and then some people are, getting those Mennonite sheds and then they're using them as bunkies and
Yeah.
again, so it's not really designed
Right.
for anybody to sleep in it.
Yeah, you buy little granny cabins
Yes.
and you haul them up on your trailer and put them in your backyard, yeah.
Well, it's your water flow.
But most of those are
Your
smaller than
foundation.
160.
Yeah.
Okay, so last thing is, so also repairs, are they exempt from permits? Or they should call you and
They
say,
should, I mean, if you're changing similar product for similar product, like you're reshingling your roof, no permit required. You're doing anything structural, you're taking a window that's a certain size and you're opening it up. I need to see it because you're doing structural, especially if it's on the east side, not so much the gable end.
okay,
But there again,
So-
following up on John, how many people are gonna know the gable end from the eave? You know what I mean? I think that those are all very reasonable because we don't know the building code. We're not experts. And if we were, we'd have your job. So I just think that the C-can is very interesting to me though.
What is a C-can, sorry?
A shipping.
A shipping
Oh,
container,
okay.
yeah,
So you don't need a permit for that.
you do.
You do.
Yeah, because
But
that was about, I thought that was like 3 years ago, that was the discussion at the time, because they're setting the foundations for the sea cans.
No, we didn't have foundations for it.
anyway,
What about yours? Any in the community?
Oh,
'Cause I've looked into it, but you don't need a permit.
There's glamping tents, there's.
Yeah,
yeah,
they're getting more popular, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, they are,
That'd be, depends if it's a permanent structure or not, right?
yeah.
so maybe we'll go
Collapsible.
towards is, hydro, dial before you dig. Yeah, that's what you almost need is a friendly place that they can phone and say, this is what I have in mind. Do I need a permit, or how can you help me so I don't need a permit?
That's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
That's really what I'm looking for.
So that's
Yeah,
education.
it's just, just reach out to me and I'll direct you in the right area.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
We wait with interest for your report.
You better get home and move your sea can.
Exactly.
Pretty hard to do.
It's temporary.
You can
That's
bet
all you
without
have
having
to
to pull
say.
a fingernail.
Anything else, Daryl? All right. Any questions for Daryl, anyone? Everyone's good? Perfect. Daryl, have a great day.
Are you sure that CCAM's not in Norfolk gonna look for us? Cause you put back on the.
It's true, my back fence. It's the boundary.
Alright.
Oh, that's funny. That's, all my life I've been doing illegal things that have become illegal after I did them, and that's not
We're
fair.
being recorded.
I wanna hear more of those stories.
Does anyone require a break?
Yeah, can we have 2 minutes?
We'll have 5 minutes. If you could, Annette.
Can we just drop off? Not even all
We are
seasons.
back.
We're back live, perfect.
After
So
you
we'll
wake
move,
up.
we'll move on to correspondence A. Do anyone have any comments on correspondence A?
No, but I'll have reports on a whole bunch of this stuff in my mayor's report at our next meeting, sort of parse some of the information.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. So we'll move on to correspondence B then. So we had multiple things to discuss. So the letter request the BB Council to read the bridge banner.
Yes,
I think, yes.
we always do it.
Sounds good. National Medical Laboratory Week request, just throw it on the electronic sign.
Yeah.
Fine.
Absolutely.
Boom, 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 water treatment, request for support, one of the requests was, Pembroke Symphony Orchestra.
No.
I would say no, generally we haven't. And then the last one, the request from the businesses, that was for December 8th, I believe, and they already
Yes.
have it booked. What is the actual, cost for that rental?
$200.
$200 to waive it, okay.
Yes.
For our businesses, yeah, I think it behooves us to do it.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
They're the lifeblood.
No, it
Exactly.
makes sense. Sounds good. All right, on to correspondence C now.
The
Actually,
events.
sorry, did anyone else have anything else in correspondence B? Those are all the action items that we had requests for. Okay, we'll move on to correspondence C. Unfortunately, there's nothing. Okay, we'll move on to 8.1, which was the mayor's report.
And I will have one,
Uh,
and it will be lengthy.
perfect. 8.2,
Take note.
8.2, the community development update.
You wanna just ask Annette now
Annette?
about Sarah? Coming to our next meeting.
Oh, all I was gonna say, Annette, was just to maybe discuss with Sarah, just for like for staff, just to look at. Because I was kind of looking at, it's for like the banners, we've got multiple requests for multiple hanging banners every year, so I was curious if Sarah could produce almost a calendar for next year, in the sense that, so January, we have Bonnechere Cup, and then so what?
You're talking over the bridge.
Over the
Yeah.
bridge, yeah, so these, we also have like the Inspire Tour, we have the Madawaska Tour, then we also have, the large biking event, I can't think of that right
On
now.
a sheer,
Well,
Yeah.
but, I don't,
we know what it's
Tour de
called.
the Tour de
Tour de
Bonnechere, that's
Bonnechere.
what it is, yeah. And then, so it's just kind of curious on if we have the potential to fill every month, and that's just something we could take of a line item from council's budget almost next year.
Brent is talking about the up and down,
Mhm.
like if we have the contractor to do it.
Yeah.
You put one up, you take it down, you put the other one up,
Mhm.
so we're always,
Yeah.
and then there's always a banner over the bridge, which is very
Yeah,
nice.
and we want to keep it like, and especially like BV Central, to bring more people to our area and really just keep that, especially with it's a good tourism aspect as well, so
Mhm.
I think it just makes sense, support a local initiative, so maybe just discuss that with her is.
Sure, yeah, I will, and maybe I'll get some costing from Kevin as well, and probably one of the biggest impacts as well is that when it's on the bridge, we need to have traffic control,
Mhm.
and we don't, like, so it's staff time too, and depending, so we have to coordinate it, it's quite a few things to coordinate.
Yeah.
For that, but yeah, so I'll get some costing and some timeline set up, sure.
But then to Brent's point, if we have an idea of, it doesn't have to be put up that particular day, but even if you were talking that week, you carve out the time,
Mhm.
but it's already organized.
Yeah, and especially like, really, it's the promotion of or inherent like BV events and really good things that bring people to our community, so.
It's staff time, when one comes down, the next one goes up.
Which is
Coordinating the same day.
That's right, which is
Save
far
money.
easier than taking one down
And
this week and putting one up.
Yeah, I
in the
know,
middle
you
of
save
December.
much more money that way.
And the reason we're looking at now is so then when we're calculating or going into budget for next year, hey, just get to cut council salary, but that's perfect. But
And that's what we do every time. We're always coordinating for taking out, putting down at the same time. And as you know, it's been a challenge more with contractors than, staff is a challenge because we're a little bit understaffed with public works at the moment, but we're working towards that. So hopefully we'll be back at full department here shortly, and then it shouldn't be as big a deal for them on traffic control, and contractors like Kevin's been working with a few different people to try and make sure that
Right.
we have, someone, and then we have a backup, and then we have stuff organized. So, yeah, no, that's great. That's
Alright.
no problem.
Good.
Sounds good.
There might even be a role for having some banners that are not supporting a national week, like Buple Rocks or
Mhm.
Reganville's Beautiful. And have them so we could have an attractive banner up on the bridge, even if it isn't an official week of some kind.
And I.
Well, it'd be more
Discover
on a monthly basis is direction, because it would be expensive to take up and take down is what I was looking at, like larger events there. But the electronic sign, that's the nice thing with it, is you can utilize it to support weekly events. All people have to do is send it in, and generally, it can go up.
But I agree with John, if they were BB, like Boople or Discover Eganville,
Yeah,
and
I
I
like
think
that.
Discover Eganville has one, but it's not long enough.
Not quite there.
So I think that would have to be looked at, but I agree with you.
There's something
especially
catchy on it,
when
like
you-
Eganville Rocks or just promoting our caves and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's the
Bonnechere Cup
thing, it's
was
just
the one.
putting a little more thought into it, and then
Yeah,
the thing
I
is that,
Yeah.
hey, we might as well use that space to help promote events in our area.
Okay.
So what are those events gonna be to make sure we have it up 12 times a year?
The other thing is, I do get complaints when things are not taken off the electronic sign in a timely manner, flags. Some of the banners stay up too long and people are like, that event's been over for 2 months. We know, but it's, there is an inherent cost.
Yep.
For those things as well. So we have to, I agree with Brent, it's gotta be a budgetary thing, but if we're more organized, it should be a lot easier.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just, if that's what staff is spending their time doing, there's other things that then don't happen. So just,
Yeah,
be aware of
no.
that if you're getting calls from
Mhm.
residents, say, you know what, why is this not being looked after? Well, we're busy doing this right now, but we'll get to that. So, everybody has to understand that every time we add to the duties,
Yeah.
something has to fall off, because we're not expanding staff.
Mhm.
So if we do this, something else has to go.
Well, if this is coming out of council's budget, then maybe we should take the road closure course and we should get out there and flag on the bridge.
Perfect. I do it multiple
Keep
times a week.
building.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is there, and that's also something that we will discuss anyways at
Mhm.
going to budget. And the thing is, if there is something with that staff's looking at eliminating, that's gonna ease up more time that we don't have the necessities to do, then we can look at other alternatives with that as well, right? So that's the thing. That's fine, we're open ears.
Yeah, so
So.
it's just to be aware of that,
Yeah.
that if they're doing
Yeah.
that,
Yeah,
then,
100%.
something else. And I don't know, I can't say specifically, this is what's gonna fall off,
Mhm.
but I just wanna be prepared that as we do, if we're doing it monthly, like right now, we do it 2-3 times a year. So now you're talking about expanding that, like doing it monthly is a significant.
Well, and
expense.
so,
I think
and,
what I-
and some,
So
and
just-
some events
yeah.
can carry into 2 months.
Oh,
When you're-
yeah.
Like, look at your Bonnechere Cup, your January and February.
Yeah,
And then you'd
exactly.
have something for your March, and that can carry on. We
Yeah.
can start at 6. So that's why we'll leave it in your and Sarah's hand and staff hands, just to let us know what's feasible, right?
Mhm. No, for sure.
And especially on a cost analysis side, it's like, yeah, 100%. If there's gonna be a cost to it, we can look at eliminating sections of our budget, or we can look at
Yeah.
eliminating something else that was scheduled for us to do, and we can look at and see what our priorities are. I think our priorities is spend a lot of money on the tourism strategy, so might as well start promoting aspects that we believe in as well.
Yeah,
So I meant just that the Bonnechere Cup comes and ends on February 16th or whatever. And then the next event is in 3 weeks' time. That's what I meant. We put up a more generic Eganville Beautiful banner and leave it in place. So there are no extra calls to come up and place new banners. But we have one that we can leave up as a space filler.
that's where I was going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah.
But something catchy on it, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's
Keeps people's
exactly.
No new visits, or
But
no
there-
new closures.
But there are
Yeah.
some things that we know year over year that the banners are up for a certain time, right?
And
So like, the Women's Survivor, one goes up in
May.
May.
Yeah.
So I think that there are ones that we know year over year are not gonna change.
Mhm.
But if you've got staff on the ground and you're sending somebody up in a bucket truck, if you're taking one down, might as well put one up.
Don't do it twice.
So hence
Exactly.
Brent's idea of getting a calendar to see exactly where the gaps are.
Yeah.
What a
Well,
great
then we can look at it and see if, and go from there. Sounds good. That was all I had for that.
Yeah,
Was there anything else in actual community development update, just from the I'm guessing, is that for the Eganville and Area Community Development Group?
No, that's us.
Oh, okay.
No, this is Sarah's, so normally Sarah reports, under my report for.
Oh, okay,
administration.
that's why she was added into it.
Yes, but I asked her to do something up because, for two things. So one is, that we did get the funding for the
Yep.
Edenville.
We're not allowed to.
Yes, we are now. Yes,
Oh, we are?
Sorry.
Yeah, it's
Yep,
right there.
Sorry,
No, but I thought we weren't. That it
weren't.
was that,
we're
There
permitted
was-
now. We're good.
are we allowed to announce how much?
Yes, everything is on.
Everything,
Everything
because
is on
Yak
the table
didn't
now.
phone me back,
No,
so.
we're waiting for the event to actually have the event over at the curling club, but we can talk about it now.
Okay.
We won't announce what it was, we won't get into super detail, but we have to have an
I knew it
event.
was for the curling club, but I didn't know we were allowed.
We have to have an event recognizing
Right.
the funding. So we're allowed to say we got some funding, we need to have a recognition event. So we're waiting to hear from John Yakubuski.
Yeah.
And when his office calls us back, then we will be sending out an invite to council and we will have that event.
Right.
So
I have to tell you, when Yak phoned, I was so excited because I thought it was the net zero funding, you know, that came from the feds to the, but it was not. So Debbie, in about a month, you can go, oh, surprise, they got funded.
Yeah, so that we're trying to coordinate that. And then the other thing, the reason why I wanted this to come before the next meeting is because we have to submit our Canada Day funding, which is due on November 21st. So I couldn't hold off until then, but I wanted council to be aware of what we were applying for because we're applying for more money and sort of what our plan. And it can change if council is not interested in doing this. So we looked at the same one who put off the fireworks previously.
Mhm.
So we got a quote for them for Canada Day. They'll take care of the fire, they take care of everything. So we would apply for the grant to use to cover all of those costs. And then the second thing was the performance that was held last year was quite successful.
Yes.
So I wondered if we wanted to go ahead and compete with that, do a similar show again this year to connect with the fun day activities, the fireworks, everything, still have some musician. And so we went ahead and got a quote from Spencer Scarf. I don't know if you know him. I've seen him around quite a bit. He's pretty active from Ottawa to all over Renfrew County. And he does a couple of different shows. I really liked the East Coast show that he's promoted onto here and quite reasonable the cost. So just curious whether we want to still go down that road for Canada Day or not, because believe it or not, it seems like it's early for booking, but it really,
It's not.
stuff happens really, really fast.
Mhm.
So wanting to know, do you want us to go ahead and apply for this funding for having all of the fireworks? And then would you like us to book Spencer Scarf for Canada Day for his East Coast show? You know, quite very, very reasonable, very, very small.
Well,
cost.
it was a massive turnout this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it makes sense. Just keep it consistent with what we did this
It-
year is my recommendation.
It also made that evening a little, like after all the events during the day, then you could have your supper and then music and then fireworks was a really nice flow, I think.
Yeah, and unfortunately with the weather, you know, and that could happen again. We
Yeah.
don't know if.
Well, you
if
better
the
book
fire
the
ban
face
on.
painter though,
But,
because
okay.
that was one of the longest lineups I've been in.
It was.
It was
Seriously,
and the unlimited freezies was great for the kids.
Okay,
but that face painter, I don't know how she did it.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. There's two of them. So.
okay, I can certainly extend that to Sarah as well to add.
Well, it just means I know that they book out pretty
Everybody
good,
books,
so.
yeah.
Right.
So it's just good to secure it in, because that was like, the amount of people that turned out to that event was phenomenal, so.
And the
Okay.
artistry.
Councillor Patrick was so impressed that he prepared his face for this July 1st.
Excellent.
That's what I'm here for.
I think we could finish the job then.
It's great. I'll draw on a beard. That's what I'll do.
Annette, I have a quick question for you.
Mhm.
Is there any consideration to host March Break Madness or an event during March Break?
Yes, so Sarah right now is coordinating, and she didn't add this to her report because she didn't have all the details yet, so there's a meeting coming up. She's in discussions with museum, with library, Rotary Club.
EACDG.
EACDG,
awesome.
there's, Camp Smitty is thinking of having a day camp on, the
Senior
library. He's trying to organize public skating, the curling club to have a learn to skate and a pizza party, so.
Everything.
so She's,
Yeah.
she is working on coordinating all this and also reaching out to North Dakota Wilberforce to
Great.
see, how they want to connect, so all of these, so we don't have details to report.
I was just
but-
curious if
but,
it's gonna happen. this
yeah,
year.
we're very much, she's very active in that, so I'm sure that there'll be more heard about that going forward. And of course, another youth dance as well in March, so she's already booked, I think Shannon and the Legion, so we're full steam ahead for March Break Madness right now, and maybe she'll have some of those details for the November 28th, but I just, before she
Yeah,
before she clicks submit on
Yeah.
on the Celebrate Canada
Yeah.
Fund grant, I just thought bring it forward, and if you don't have any issues, then we're gonna go forward. If you had any concerns or wanted to apply for something different, tell me now, because it's due on November 21st.
Sounds good. Let's move forward is my recommendation.
Yep.
Okay.
Everyone's good with that?
Yep.
Perfect.
Thank
And then, so then 8.3, the boat launch on Lake Clear will be ongoing mountain resort agreement. Annette, I just said ask could you just summarize it, I guess?
Sure.
Best way to put it.
Okay. So back in, it started in December of 2021. Committee directed staff to negotiate with the owners of Opeongo Mountain Resort to establish legal title to the lands containing the boat launch, including surveying, transferring lands, report back with an agreement that's been reached and how best to proceed. So that's sort of been in discussion, and it's happened in close because in negotiations, you can't reveal everything in the open session, of course. So that's been ongoing. And myself and Sandra both met with the current and the previous owners of Opeongo Mountain Resort. We reviewed all kinds of information, high water mark, flooded lands from documents provided by Sebastopol Historical Society, old pictures, maps, copies of excerpts from deeds, transfers to the municipality for installation of the culvert, which is the one that the county just finished replacing there, as well as just information submitted to us from Opeongo Mountain Resort and the current and previous owner. So the evidence, we went through all of that, and then it was not conclusive, so we had to contact a surveyor to go out and actually see where the lands were and what the ownership was, and the boundaries of the road, the Opeongo Mountain Resort properties, and also the shoreline. So the township surveyor came back and with a draft a sketch for the property, and determined that the boat launch, the gas tanks are all within township road allowance property. So I met with the owners, we reviewed this information and discussed it how best to proceed to go forward. So we want the business in our township to be a success. We want our residents to have access to the boat launch, and access to the lake. And I was directed to negotiate a lease with the property owners, and we do have a signed lease, which will come to council this evening for approval. And so it does allow the public to be able to use the boat launch. There is still the issue of parking on Lake Clear Road. This is an issue every year. It's not going away. The parking is on private property. We have no authority over it. We have it's not our property. However, we do have some property next to the culvert that was just replaced by the county that could be made available for some parking spaces. I know people are sort of parking in that road allowance now. But with the replacement of the culvert, so it's funny, this is coming to fruition now, and if it had been before, we could have had the signs put up, we could have had parking marks, we could have had this sort of set out. Unfortunately, that site's all sort of been dug up with the placement of the culvert, and so it's not ready for that, but we will be getting it ready next year with some signs, or let's put some gravel. So we will be moving forward with some parking. I know it's not a ton, parking is a problem in the village and lots of other places, but Jason and I were out, we looked at the site, we will be preparing some parking spots there, some signage and stuff, so that there is some public parking there. But I mean, it is, I think a reasonable rate currently at the Opeongo Mountain Resort. And so, the lease is coming tonight. It's 25-year lease, and hopefully it brings success to the resort and allows the public to have good access to the lake. That's
it was in Jason's report too, that it'll be signed next year.
Yeah, signed next year. So I think those are our two main goals. Is we were dealing with parking. We're still dealing with that. The culvert was not a surprise, but we didn't realize how much it would impact that area where the parking is. So we still got to deal with that. But we've got, access through the boat launch for our public and, yeah, and we've got a 25-year lease to support a local business, so I think that's, and we dealt with all of the liability, the risk, anything like that, has sort of been transferred over to for 25 years to the lease date, so.
Merv, you had a comment?
The leaser.
I was in the area yesterday, so I dropped in and had a look to see if the culvert, but prior to the culvert, on the lakeside, the county's left some nice parking there.
Yeah, it still needs some work, like it's
No,
pretty, yeah,
But I think Merv is right. I think they're actually.
Before you get to the culvert, but then there's another parcel of land with grass and everything beyond that, before you get.
Which is ours.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah, and that's where we're
That's all
gonna
ours,
fix it.
but we're just
Yeah,
leasing
so-
in the tank.
Yeah, which is nice, and Jason's report is reflective on
Yeah.
that, so, and the thing is I think it'd be important to make a note on it, is well, when we're doing a road tour next year,
Mhm.
we'll make sure that everyone's aware exactly that is, if they do get
Yeah.
asked.
yeah.
But no, it'd be really nice to make sure that that's highlighted for the public next year, going to next year's voting
Oh,
season.
yeah, the sign.
Especially using,
Yeah.
which is very important.
Yeah.
Just it's especially we had the survey done and everything,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, for sure.
which is benefit,
So,
so. John, go ahead.
So I just want to commend you on, and your staff on sorting out not one problem that you started, but several things are now well defined for future council. Good job.
thank you.
Yeah. Agreed.
Perfect, well, thank you very
But
much.
Merv's not wrong. That culvert is actually going to allow for a bit more space there.
Yeah.
I don't know whether the county put the fill there, like it's been a few years since I've been there,
Mhm.
but I don't recall this parking area before you get to the culvert.
Oh, yeah, no, it was there.
Mhm.
But I don't think it was big, anyways,
Okay, I'll take a drive out there.
Yeah, it just needs to be, we just need to.
it just seems to be nicer.
Good thing we own an
Yeah.
excavator, so that's perfect.
That's right.
So then we'll move on to 8.4, the Bonnechere River Water Management Plan.
So I sent everybody the email and the clip from Killaloe, Haggerty and Richards meeting, previous meeting. Mayor Mayville's comments have created a bit of consternation. The Bonnechere watershed management plan was many years, many hours, and many sleepless nights in the making. The committee included stakeholders on the river and on lakes. It included our power dam project managers, i.e. EGC and RPG in Renfrew, but RPG also is upstream of us as well. It included elected officials, and it included the Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry. It was a lot of work. The idea was to sort of level the playing field, because nobody's ever happy with the water levels, whether it be in the spring, summer, or fall. So this was a plan that previous mayor Jenna Wisniewski put her heart and soul into. John Yakubuski could not have been more helpful and really made this plan suitable within the parameters of provincial legislation. What Mayor Mayville spoke about was that he wanted to meet with current Minister Graydon Smith about changing the plan. This resulted in a weekend full of phone calls saying, you know, what the heck? Why would you change it now? And so I would respectfully ask that this council allow me to send a letter to Mayor Mayville just addressing the fact that we don't think that this is a good idea to revisit such an important plan in our area. Yes, Merv knows all about it.
No, I was going to check the water level in Golden Lake if I hadn't been last minute, but talking about the plan. And even with the federal government involved regarding different species and whatnot, and they're gonna go
Yes.
through all that again,
That's right, the Department of Oceans and
Yes,
Fisheries
also-
were involved.
if they're involved, yeah,
Yes, Merv, you are correct.
yes.
It was,
You know, it's opening a big can of worms.
I agree with you.
Oh,
And
it was a long process to get there because that was pre-existed us and then it was approved under the previous council as well. But no, we're a large stakeholder in any conversation for this should have directly come with all stakeholders in the same room. And a really conversation before, in my opinion, a delegation is done to hire like a higher authority. I think the conversation with other stakeholders and municipalities would be a lot of money and time went into it. And like a significant amount of like, and that's the biggest thing, but no, I'd support a letter to be sent out.
thank you. I just think, we're sort of twofold or threefold. We've got Golden Lake, we've got the Bonnechere River, and we have EGC. So I think that we were well represented at that table, whether it be with Jack or with Merv or with me. But I think that everybody had their opportunity to weigh in and give their opinion about what this plan should look like. And to reverse it or even to put it in the
Tinker with
minister's mind is a little worrisome for me.
Well, I know, and most importantly is just go off the water levels first.
Yes,
Like that's the biggest thing to make sure we are following the plan to a T of what was pre-existently put in. So that's why I think like that should be the first step in my opinion, would be actually.
and it has
looking at
been
the water.
working.
And that's the thing, it's too early to tell as well. Like, that's the thing, it has worked up until this point, and I think it benefits all the stakeholders. So no, I support a letter going forward and.
Brilliant.
it's-
I will get that done. Thank you.
Besides that, establish next meeting. Let me pull up the calendar here,
November 28th.
November 28th.
November 28th.
Well, our next meeting is November 22nd for our emergency exercise. For everybody else at the table, it starts at 1 o'clock. Is it here at Eagles Nest? Eagles Nest. For Brent, it starts at 11:30.
Yeah, it's,
Oh.
well, I have a special role in that one,
What, is
so,
it 11:30?
No, it's at 1 o'clock. I'm sorry, Bert.
yeah, it's 1 o'clock. Murray.
Brent likes to roll in at the 11th hour.
I don't have my calendar with me,
Yeah,
so I
no,
gotta
it's
make
in
notes.
Sorry, 1300 Eagles Nest.
Yep,
Yeah. I'm like,
So-
1300
Yeah.
Eagles Nest. What's that address? Yeah, I got
Sorry,
you.
the emergency meeting is
At
at
the
legal.
Gold.
Nest?
Yes,
Oh, okay, I thought it
because
was
there'll
here.
be a lot of us, like all the
Okay.
department heads. Yeah,
we have done it here before, but it ends up just everyone lined up back there.
I
yeah.
thought Erica had just told me it was gonna be here.
Well,
Oh,
last year, because it was during one of our learning sessions as new counselors, we had it there.
I think we normally have
We
the
had
emergency.
tabletop exercise.
We've had tabletop here.
But this is a bigger deal.
Yeah,
Okay.
Is this an hour or 2 hours?
or it'll be 2 hours. Yeah. At least block off 2 hours.
I'm sure Annette's gonna send an email reminder.
I didn't
out
see
to
one,
us
so
at
that's
some
why I
point this
thought I
week.
missed it.
Erica will.
Erica will.
Eric will.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome, media session. Debbie?
I just wanted to get more details about the, Opiongo Resort, boat launch then. So is the agreement itself in the pack, in the document?
Yeah, it's in, the agreement itself is in tonight's council meeting.
Okay, yeah, because I guess I was looking at the, committee agenda, so I didn't kind of get that one. So can you just give me, what does this mean for public access to that boat launch? Because that was the issue that first came up, like, that people wanted to be able to access, and there was the question of whether or not it was actually on township property or if it belonged to the
Yeah.
resort.
The resort is leasing it from us, but the public have full access to the boat launch.
So the resort is leasing the land,
Yes,
right? And so like,
yes, but the agreement states that the public have the right to use the boat launch.
okay,
Yeah,
free
it
of
says-
charge,
Yeah, it
Yes.
says the leasee,
because that was part of the issue, right?
Hang on, there are
Okay,
two
sorry.
issues.
the leasee shall have the exclusive right to use the premises with the exception of the boat launch and Lake Clear Road, obviously, which shall remain open to the public at all times.
Okay, so the public can access the boat launch, and
Correct.
what about a charge?
It's free. The challenge for the charge was the parking. So we can't do anything about the resort charging when you're parking on their property.
Right.
And we have very little parking there. Now, what Merv just said is correct. I'm hoping that we will have maybe 5 spots, maybe. but they're going to be signed Bonnechere Valley parking.
Mhm.
If you park at the resort, they have every right to charge you. It's their land.
Mhm.
That's why John was saying that there were sort of two challenges, and actually three, because we were also dealing with the fuel tank. So that liability is gone as well. So I think that this is probably dealing with all three all in one document.
Okay,
And it's how you park. We could definitely get more than 5, but it's how people park, and that's why we're gonna need to have signage and, you know, appropriate.
Exactly. So one of the problems is that I've seen people pull in there and they take up basically the whole
Yeah.
thing because of where their huge truck and their trailer is. So they're going to have to park properly. I just didn't want to overpromise. Okay, there will be more than 5 spots, but I didn't want to overpromise. But it'll be how you park.
Yes,
Right? It's no different than going to the arena and people in the parking lot across the road park all willy-nilly.
Yeah.
And it obviously, then all of a sudden you're missing out on parking because somebody's parked in the middle. Don't park in the middle. Park like this.
so hopefully we'll have it well signed next year.
Yes.
So that, yeah. The spots will be put to better use. There'll be more spots.
Yes, more spots, but
Yes,
Everything's the best way, everything's defined now
Yes.
of the rules, responsibilities, and then just the parking will be outlined next year.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing, is maintaining access to the lake.
exactly.
and people not taking up all of our spots with one truck and trailer.
yeah, well, I think that was the issue that it first came up with, right, is that people were saying they couldn't have access there, you know, unless they were paying.
Mhm.
So,
I think there was some confusion about that as well.
yeah,
I think it was the confusion about paying to park and people thought it was paying to use the boat launch.
Mhm.
I think there was some gray area there as well, Debbie.
Mhm.
So, but it's been cleaned up.
Yes, great.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Well, no, it's pretty straightforward. It's agreement that comes this evening, so.
I
And
think
then
we should
there's the
have
other
signed
one
no
at
parallel
Wyland
parking.
Shore, right?
Yeah, so there's no parking on Wyland Shore.
But the boat launch, like, don't they launch
That's
their boat
so,
there?
so it's not a boat launch.
Oh, it's not?
There
Okay.
is water access there.
Right,
So you can, like, there is township property where you can get through and access the water.
yeah. I'm
But
gonna
it's
take
technically
pictures.
not a boat launch,
No, okay.
you know, so
Zero parking.
And you can't park there.
there's no parking.
You have to
but-
park
yeah.
at the ball field.
Oh, I thought there was some on the road.
No,
Going up.
there-
No, okay,
Yeah,
Yeah, again,
yeah, that's,
Debbie's not wrong. There is that one little tiny place.
mhm.
The challenge is that people are driving in with their big trucks and trailers and it's extending into people's private
so
property.
maybe we should sign that as well.
It was signed at one point.
Okay,
But
Weren't we waiting until we actually went through and surveyed?
no, I,
Sure, though.
no, but we know that we do own one very small area
Yeah.
there. If you're going up the hill, we own a bit on the left.
Mhm.
But the problem is, we had a sign that said that you could park there, but I think people thought they could park all the way down, if
so it
that
was
makes sense.
confusing.
It was
yeah, okay,
confusing.
gotcha. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes, there's a gentleman there that would dispute that.
yes.
So what I
Yeah.
would probably
In front of his driveway.
So what I would probably recommend is when we're out doing the signage on Lake Clear Road, adding additional spaces, just mark out the one on Wyland Shore as well.
Yeah, we'll
It's
definitely.
use the same,
definitely
use,
look at it.
use the same signs or have a look at it.
Yeah,
That's the only thing. I know it's not a designated boat launch, but.
but the challenge is that just like Water Street.
Mhm.
So Wyland Shore, not lakefront, but going back up to Opeongo. One of the challenges is that it appears that this side is all municipal property.
Mhm.
It is
Yeah,
not,
it's private property.
right? So there's this much that's private property. We own this much, then it's private property.
Mhm.
So the problem was that if you had a huge truck and a trailer for your boat, somebody was parking in what was municipal parking, but they were actually parking on this gentleman's private property.
Mhm.
So it was very confusing and not very fair to the gentleman that lived there either,
Mhm.
or that lives there. So we'll sort it all out. But the Lake Clear thing is, I don't know how often you've been down there,
Not very often.
but it does give the impression that you're supposed to do like a cul-de-sac
Yes.
and then back in and drop your boat and then park there again. So we're gonna fix that.
Good. Well, that's tying up with one of those issues that was on the table for a while.
Wait till November,
Predating this council.
wait till November 28th.
Oh, I know, I'm looking forward to that one.
Good.
Any other questions, Debbie?
No, thank you very much.
No problem. We do not have any closed sessions. Could I please have an adjournment of the meeting?
Although we probably should have.
Yeah. But, we can,
It's okay.
well, we can have a discussion this
Yeah.
evening if needed.
We can talk about it on the
But,
28th. It's over
Yeah,
anyway.
sounds good. Adjournment.
Pardon?
Does someone
Oh.
want to move? John, Merv, all those in favor? Perfect, thank you.
Nobody wants to
Oh, my
adjourn.
gosh.
Hey, perfect, thanks, guys.
So our public